because at this point, I'm not even surprised anymore because I think because of what
Mm-mm.
Black Wednesday or what was it Black Wednesday for like I think 2 or 3 times straight. It's getting to the point where these WWE/NXT releases are becoming the new school shootings.
Jesus.
So where it happens and it's
not
just
to
like
equate it, not to equate
no,
it to
yeah,
that, not to there was a
yeah.
time where we
No,
was
I
hearing
get
that
you.
on a daily
It's
basis.
terrible to see, but it's coming up too often. I get you.
I'm specifically equating the desensitization, if that's a word, the
Right, right, right.
desensitization of
Yes.
it. Because yeah, of course, somebody losing their job is nothing compared to somebody having a life-threatening situation or losing their life.
No,
Absolutely.
I was just laughing at, or I was just commenting on the impact of the analogy, but I mean, it does make sense.
I
Like
mean,
it's
no, because sometimes,
something that's it's
and
terrible to
plus too, you got
see.
to explain it to people
Yeah.
True,
what you
true.
mean by it. You don't want nobody to take it in offense
No,
or anything like
we
that. We're
just
not.
like
No.
yeah, like I said, we just mean that it's terrible to see, but it's happening all too often now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
and
but in case you don't know exactly what we're talking about,
which you
former
should.
NXT Tag Champion Bobby Fish, former North American Champion Bronson Reed. We will
Mm-hmm.
respect him this time. Jake Atlas, Ari Sterling, Kona Reeves, former North American champ Leon Ruff, Stephen Smith, Diamond Mines Tyler Russ, Zachariah Smith, Asher Hale, Giant Zangier, and Mercedes Martinez have all been released.
And
Yes.
I have immediate problems with, of course, Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed, Tyler Russ, Mercedes
Mercedes,
Martinez,
hell, I even say Jake
and
Atlas.
you know what? Yeah, him too.
I
These
even
are
say
people
Jake
that have
Atlas
all
because I
been
mean,
on TV recently and have
Mm-hmm.
had
yeah,
great storylines going in. I mean, Bobby Fish, I don't know, you're wrapping up the whole Undisputed Era stuff with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tyler Russ just got into Diamond Mine. I'm going to call it Diamond Mine right now because we'll put some respect on him.
hmm
Bronson Reed, we thought was main roster bound, and like I don't know, like this is ridiculous.
Now
Like,
Yeah.
this situation veers into two paths once again. This path will take first. Somebody has compiled a list from the 2020
yeah,
releases and the 2021 releases.
so
There
far.
has been 100 people. If you want to subtract two with Zelina and Samoa Joe, we can. But there has
Oh, and
been a
Drake
hundred.
Drake Maverick.
Oh, and Drake Maverick. But there has been 100 people released in 2020 and 2021. That's of course wrestlers, staff, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like insanity.
It sounds like
No
Well,
pun
WWE is
intended.
about to sell out.
I mean, just to kind of blanket some of this. I mean, if we take the guys that were in the performance center that hadn't really seen any TV time, you know, it happens. That's one of the situations where it's like, hey, they probably didn't see anything in you. Here's your walking papers. We're not going to worry about
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm,
And then we get to Asher Hell, which he was given a shot. They probably didn't see anything in him to where it's like, you know what, we really don't have any plans for you here. I'm looking at that like, okay, you know what, that's a saving grace. Cool. Kona Reeves, I was surprised he was still employed this long because
Same.
he hadn't been seen. I think he was in the
I
same
think
position
before
as
COVID.
Boa. Yeah, even before, but he was in the same position with as Boa with not having a match for so long because he hadn't been on
hmm
TV.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So
Kona hasn't been on
I
TV
was
in a minute.
yeah. So that's some of that shit out the way. Now when we get into like the nitty gritty of it, we got Bobby Fish, who
Go.
had just came back off of injury and in a prominent storyline so far. So I mean, that's a little weird one. I can understand it on some part of it, but that's still weird. And then you get to the Tyler Russes in this situation because I'm still calling it the coal mine because I don't give a shit.
Put some respect on it for today, Lip.
I put respect on Tyler Russ. The coal mine is still there.
That is true.
Tyler Russ. I've never had anything bad to say about him. He's not in the same position as Ever Rise or Malcolm Bivens. He was just by association. Even when we talked about his match that he had 2 weeks ago, I was praising how much he had gotten into shape and is in ring. So there was really no reason for him to be released because you had him in a prominent faction, prominent storyline.
Facts.
So I don't understand that. Leon Ruff hadn't been on TV, but this is where I get kind of frustrated because you did something with Leon Ruff that not a lot of people will do with smaller guys, especially guys with his build.
Yeah.
You turned him into a champ. Go ahead.
Hold on. Remember that point when I bring up something later.
Okay.
The smaller guys thing. So remember that.
Okay. They did something with Leon Ruff that not a lot of people would do. They took somebody who could have easily been a comedy act. Put the title on him in what seemed to be just like a fluke victory and made that shit believable because they built the character around that fluke shit that everybody would have expected and then changed a lot of minds. So when you have believability like that, it's like, why would you even want to release somebody like that? And Scoot, I think I may know where you're going with it, and I'm pretty sure that's the case as well. But going from there to Mercedes Martinez, who is a good hand, which we didn't get to see a follow-up with her being concussed by Xia Li. So now we don't really get a bookend. I mean, it's a good write-off.
Mercedes could have been what Natalya and like Tamina is to SmackDown in the women's roster. She could have been that way for NXT. Like she didn't necessarily have to get called up, but she could have been a great like hurdle. Like, okay, beating Mercedes or getting wins over Mercedes, kind of like how Cassius Ono, I'm about to call him Chris Hero, kind of like how Cassius Ono was. He started to become, especially when he went to NXT UK, it kind of became a, hey, if you really want to prove yourself, you fight Cassius Ono.
Yeah.
Is that where Cassius Ono went? I kind of was like,
he
got
before he got released,
shadow release.
He was in NXT UK.
No, the last time I heard of him, he did that one Houston show like a few years back.
Yeah. He was in NXT
after that,
UK.
I was like, he disappeared.
Yeah, they never like advertised him like that. But yeah, he was in NXT UK being kind of like enhancement to wrestlers. But but yeah, like, and then I mean,
we got Jake Bernatlis.
Reed, though.
No, I'm going to get into Bronson.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Jake Bernatlis. I mean, there was promise there. I know we shit on him a lot because he does seem pretty vanilla, but that doesn't mean that there was anything you couldn't have done with him. You could have easily done stuff with him. And we come here, I think, months back when we talked about the $1 million championship picture where he could have factored him into that, and that would have changed the dynamic of him. That's something that you could, especially if you were going to push somebody for that long and try to get something behind them. He's not a lost cause. He was just booked oddly. But regardless of that, the reason I left Bronson Reed for last is because and if I'm wrong, Scoop, stop me now.
Okay.
Because when I came on here before and I talked about the breakout tournament, and I was like, I feel like NXT is moving towards like a big man era. And I was only speaking in terms of an era because they want to promote bigger men, because that's what the tournament seems like. So if this whole thing, especially with the rumor that they're talking about with them trying to repackage NXT as a whole to be a big man thing, why is Bronson Reed on that chopping block? Because he fits the bill for somebody who would be within that category. So that's the one that's the one release that just baffles me the most, because I can understand if they're repackaging NXT as a whole and they're getting rid of smaller guys. I can look at that list and I can go, okay, well, that makes sense. They want a whole new look. But when you look at this and you see Bronson Reed at the top of the list, somebody who was rumored to be pushed to the main roster and being not even 2 weeks ago in a match with Adam Cole in the main event.
Wait.
Yeah. I don't understand that.
It's a mystery, because especially since we thought he was main roster bound because he had a couple of matches on main event. We thought he was, next up in a sense, but like obviously the company saw something completely different.
Yeah.
Like obviously, I don't know if they were looking at Bronson Reed in the same boat as Otis and Keith Lee. But obviously it was just like, nah, we good.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. Like I don't get some of these releases, considering these people, like especially a lot of the releases this year. A lot of the releases this year has been like, y'all were releasing active people. Y'all were releasing people we just seen on TV like a week or two ago. And then because I even know that
wasn't saying the way that they performed on those shows that were on a week or two ago, it looks like they didn't even know that they were going to get cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I even brought up to Ashley, I said now in retrospect, it looked something final about Bobby Fish's match against Roderick Strong. Like it looked final. Just like how when Imperium kicked out Wolf, the next thing you know, boom, next day Wolf cut. So I don't know. It's a weird thing, and to know that 100 people within a year span has been released from one company is crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And then now it's getting to the point to where, because normally when they did a lot of these releases, it was people we hadn't seen for a while. It was people, might have had bad attitudes or toxic to the locker room. They're releasing people who were like fan favorites, who were active, who were like we just said, just on TV. It's like the new list is, hey, Charlotte and Roman are untouchable. Anybody else.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's starting to feel like. Charlotte and Roman are untouchable. Everybody else is fair game.
Completely expendable.
I remember back in high school when I started paying attention to No DQ, when that was like the only source for a while. Like whenever they would show us the list of releases, like your MVPs or your, I mean, you know what I mean. But you would look at those and then you'd be like, yeah, that's fair. I hadn't seen him in a while. It's like, oh, he was still working there, this and that. But now every time we're getting a release sheet, I can count easily 4 or 5 wrestlers that I'm just like, why? Like, what the hell are they doing? It's ridiculous. But I don't feel like I'm using that word a lot, but it's apropos.
All right. So with that being said, I'm gonna read one part to a 2-part thing.
Okay.
So PW Insider is reporting there are a lot of internal talks about some changes for NXT. Change number one, there could be a new logo, which they recently has just got a new logo. New lighting, new look, a different format for the weekly TV show, and a focus on the younger talent.
Huh.
So that is the first thing. So I'm gonna let y'all two speak on that for a second. What y'all thoughts on
Okay. That last part, focus on younger talent. That's the only thing that leads me to okay, this is why Bronson Reed was released. Because,
That's where I was gonna go.
they pushed that whole him being 14 years, in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same thing with
and
Bobby Fish already being like what late 30s, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
and with that, it's more of a okay, they're getting rid of the guys that pretty much know their worth, that have been in the indies and understand, how the shit goes, and pretty much able to write their own ticket. So they can
Mhm.
negotiate the way they want to. So what it seems to me, it's more of a manipulation thing or a predatory thing where it's like, let's go ahead and find some guys who's new to this, who don't know their worth, who we can just basically say, here, sign this contract. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars, which wouldn't even be close to the shit that Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk was getting. You
Right.
know, and so that way, when they can save money, they can manipulate the entire situation and make these people believe that they're getting the best deal possible for X amount of work, which would be way more than what they're getting paid for, i.e., the same equivalence to like the fans that you talked about, Scoot, where you've got so many fans who've grown up with the basically the bullshit WWE, so they don't know any better, so they think this is like top notch when
Mm-hmm.
they don't understand like the days of old, to where it's like, okay, well, I can put this up against the Attitude Era, and I can put this up against the Ruthless Aggression Era and say, okay, well, this was better here than this, so I know that this is shit because I know they gave me gold here. They don't know that, so you take new talent who don't know any better in the business, who haven't spent time on the
Yeah.
indies, and it's like, cool, we got a whole bunch of just mindless drones who won't have to worry about going off and then making their own box office hits and trying to pursue other dreams
Trying to
because
get
they think they
bigger than
have
the
it made here.
company.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it seems like that's what they're trying to do now. Because if you get rid of Bray Wyatt's, Braun Strowman's, you allow Daniel Bryan to go off and do what he wants to do, because you have these guys who are pretty much already had their run in the indies, had their major run in WWE. They're already on their quote unquote retirement run.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have to worry about paying them this money because they're pretty much almost done with with the X amount of years they have left in the game. So yeah, that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Well, first off, on all the points that you were getting at, I don't know why they would make a new logo. Just to throw that one out there. New lights, new music, I guess, to usher in a new era of NXT, whatever. They did sign a deal with Poppy to like make music for the show or for some wrestlers. So there's that. But yeah, Lip, you pretty much hit it on the nose with how I feel about this young talent being brought in. It does feel very manipulative and or predatory. It feels like it just like I guess they want people to groom, and in the weirdest way of saying it, groom for the whole program that they're going to be developing. So
Yeah.
so I guess you can always have somebody be okay with being an enhancement talent to Charlotte or Roman, or maybe they'll be okay with rising to only mediocrity while they keep certain stars at elevated status.
Mm-hmm.
But yet again, never above the company.
Exactly.
Before I get to the other point,
Hmm.
do y'all feel like this is a punishment towards Triple H for quote unquote losing to AEW?
Huh. Well,
Yes, yes and no.
Well, Vince doesn't say that they're competition, so
That is true.
Well, that's also the go-to. I mean, you're never going to show how many bullets you have in the chamber.
there.
So, why show your hand at all? So it's like
Mhm.
basically it's like you don't basically the whole don't let them see you sweat deal. They already know what the deal is. They already know
Oh yeah.
that they're losing in certain demographics. So the political response will be like, okay, to our investors, to our stockholders, we're going to say, no, they're not competition. We're not worried about it. Keep investing in us because we're on this level and they're down here. So we're
Yeah.
not worried about that until, and then Chris Jericho said this perfectly. He said, there's no reason for him to say that until money comes into the picture. It's like once
Mhm.
AEW starts getting up here and they start getting the certain deals or start getting pitched for certain deals that WWE would be getting pitched for, then that's when it's going to become a problem for WWE because then at that point it's taking money out of WWE's pocket.
Yes.
So that's the only time that they're gonna see them as competition. But as of right now, they're not getting those same deals. They're not being looked at like WWE because WWE is a conglomerate. So and they've had a number of years, decades, in fact, to build that up. So with this, in a way, it's almost like WWE trying to save face, and that's one of the main reasons I think now why Vince, Bruce Pritchard, Kevin Dunn, John Laurinaitis all went to NXT. They were basically trying to look to survey the landscape to say, okay, you know what? Who can we get rid of? Who can we keep? And what can we do to move forward so that way this can be truly our developmental company
All
rather
right.
than it
You
just
know
being
what?
standalone.
You've been saying it without saying it, so let me go ahead and fully say it.
Okay.
So apparently, Meltzer is reporting that Hunter and Sean had nothing to do with the cuts.
Mm,
It was
Ooh,
strictly
that makes
Vince,
sense.
Pritchard, Laurinaitis.
mm.
Uh, and they said NXT lost the war and they're going to change back towards an older style of development. Big guys, young guys. Uh, there,
Gotcha.
there are divisive opinions about wrestling among the people in WWE, and this is who has Vince's ear this week. They're going back to pre-fighting AEW, pre let's out indie the indies NXT. Dave says the Curtis Axel era of NXT. Now, these are the words of these people. These are not my words or words from T.A.G, so just
Yeah.
don't get offended. Dave was giving exact wording. Doesn't say from who, but it seems like a company source or memo reads off no more midgets, no one starting in their 30s. They want people who can be box office attractions and main characters.
Wow.
See, and that's funny that they say that because that's almost contradictory to what they have been doing because they haven't been building new stars. So how do you expect to build new stars if you don't want anybody who could be potentially bigger than the company itself? It's like if you want somebody who's going to be larger than life, then you have to allow them to have no ceiling. You have to allow them to be that box office attraction to
Mm-hmm.
attract not just wrestling fans, but to attract people within the spectrum of entertainment. You have to let them be quote unquote pop culture icons like The Rock was, like Stone Cold is. Oh, well, I'm sorry, like The Rock is, like Shawn Michaels was. You know, it's it's ridiculous for them to say that and then to basically backtrack and say we want to have these box office attractors that to be our main attraction for our promotion. Yet we only want them to go so far so that
Well,
way they don't exceed that.
I guess what's going to start to happen is I wouldn't be surprised, and if y'all can interject to help me out with it.
Mhm.
I think what's going to happen is they're going to start doing a style to where we're only going to let you be big as we're going to let you be big. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, we see AEW. We know who the top guys are in AEW. we know who's coming up with AEW as far as Jungle Boys, your Darbys. Who else is starting the game? Dr.
MJF,
Baker,
Ricky Starks,
your Thunder
Baker.
Rosas,
Chris
who else?
Statlanders.
Your Statlanders, your Orange Cassidys.
Mhm.
We know these people are the quote unquote next up. Miro is kind of in that weird state because he's technically should be here, but I guess we could say he's next up. We could put Hangman in the next up. We could put Dark Order as a collective maybe in the next up. So I think what's going to start happening in WWE's case, they won't let people get Rock, John Cena, Batista level. They're probably going to let people get New Day level or try to get New Day level.
Or Miz level.
Maybe even Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins type level. Maybe even Roman Reigns level. Like
maybe they get one movie deal.
Yeah, if things outside the company, we have to have our hands in it type level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to happen to where they want to start building up stars per se, but they're going to handicap them and cap them so much to where are they truly considered to be stars?
You know what it reminds me of? Like the direct visual I just got. Mm-hmm. Like, remember the first Space Jam? When freaking Danny DeVito's character was talking about what Michael Jordan would be doing on Moron Mountain.
Yeah.
Like, he would always lose lose games. He's all chained up and everything. That's pretty much what I'm getting as the visual for this. Like, they're going to have stars, but they're going to be so handicapped that, and the company's going to be the little kid that always beats them and everything. It's just, honestly, it's no way to live if you want to be something great as far as wrestling goes.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is too, I ain't gonna say it's still sad because if that's your dream, that's your dream. But it sucks to know that so many people's dream is to be part of WWE, and this is what they might have to go through to get that dream.
Like just main event, like WrestleMania, and maybe take an L to Charlotte or Roman, you would have to just play ball for so long. Like, I wouldn't be surprised that if pretty soon we're going to see like Kevin Owens go bye-bye. We're going to see, like, as their contracts come up for expiration, like, I just wouldn't be surprised at all by it because these are definitely people who we just discussed have been in the indies. They know their worth. They know what they are to this company. And the company, as we've learned over all this, just does not care for that.
You know what? Both of you said something, and Scoot, you started it off, and it made the most sense to me without even realizing. And it's AEW's format, because just like you said, with how they have the future, where you have your Ricky Starks, your Darby Allins, your MJFs, your Jungle Boys, your Sammy Guevaras.
Thank you. Those are other names I did leave out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have that bracket for the future, and then the next bracket being Hangman, being Miro. At this point, I guess you could put Lance Archer up there as well, et cetera, et cetera. You have that level right there of people, and then you have who's at the top right now. Your Moxleys, your Kenny Omegas, your Young Bucks, your Codys at this point. They're basically telling us, okay, here's who's at the top now, here's who to watch for next, and here's who to keep an eye on because these are going to be at the top of the company. So when you compare that to what WWE's doing, WWE used to do that back in the Attitude, back in the Ruthless Aggression era, where you had Evolution. You can see Batista and Randy Orton. You see John Cena. You knew that those guys were coming up. Back in the Attitude era, where you saw, the Hardys, Edge and Christian. There's other people there. I mean, Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold and Mankind in that middle bracket. Undertaker at the top. you had that established already. And now when you look at WWE, it's so many guys in this fucking melting pot to where it's like anybody at any point in time could challenge for something. There's no structure because it's like, okay, well, Kevin Owens can challenge for the Universal Championship, but then he can all of a sudden just go back and then challenge for the United States Championship or Intercontinental Championship. You know, there's no development for the younger talent. You can't see who's coming in because they're so focused on stars of yesteryear and the guys at the top, primarily your Charlottes, your Romans, you know, your Seth Rollins at a point, your Bobby Lashley's right now, your Drew McIntyres. That's all they're focused on because everybody else is lost in this fucking shuffle where it's just like, okay, I don't know who to look out for because everybody's jumping up and jumping down every now and then.
I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I remember Woods had said something profound on New Day podcast. He was talking about how, you know, you look at somebody like LeBron now who's 36, about to be 37. You know, you hear some football players or certain basketball players who at, you know, 35, 36, 37, they're about to retire. That's when you hit your peak in wrestling.
Yeah.
And that was like very telling that, you know, you don't hit your peak in wrestling per se until you're in your late 30s or early 40s. And and it's one of those things to where is that it's an unfair thing because you look at everybody who's on top. Hell, you could even consider New Day at this point because Kofi being 38, I think Woods and E would be 35 this year. So if we put New Day almost like at the bottom, we're still talking about the age range of everybody being mid to late 30 as next up. I mean, not next up, but as the top people. But then here it is, you want to still bring in Oldberg, or you still, not to say John Cena doesn't deserve to come back, but you still want to bring Cena back. You still want to bring The Rock back. Once again, you keep giving us all these reminders that, hey, these people were cooler. These people were quote unquote better, but we're going to dangle them in your face a little bit so that way you can quote unquote miss them a little bit.
Yeah.
And we kind of hope that it kind of, the problem with WWE is at times they bring these people back and they hope that, yeah, you just watch 7 weeks of John Cena being here. Hopefully you will stay a little bit longer after that. You know, and it's
how very convenient. How very convenient to bring back John Cena right when his movie came out.
Right?
Yeah. And that works out for both of them.
Yeah. But it's the weirdest thing because here it is. You're saying you want an NXT with big guys and no small people. I'm not going to use that phrase that they use. And all the people you don't want to be in NXT have been all of your fan favorites that were in NXT. All of these, if you look at all of the wrestlers who from NXT who went to the main roster who don't fit the WWE mold, it's been all the fan favorites.
Basically.
It hasn't been body guys who's been loved. Roman is probably one of the only body guys left, Roman and Lashley, but that people cared about, you know, and Big E is a body guy, but they don't rely on Big E for that.
No.
Big E's personality makes him who he is.
True.
You have people like Kevin Owens. You had people like Bray Wyatt. You had Otis before they turned him super serious. You had all of these people who were loved and adored, and they weren't necessarily 6'6", 6'8", 265 cut. No, they was just regular people you could see up the street, and they'd be like, "Hey, that guy is killing it." Or, you know, you like I said, like with Leon Ruff. Many people look at Leon Ruff and be like, "All right, man, get him out of business."
He's the man. He's that man.
Right.
But he did what he needed to do, and he made a nice little impact for his little run.
And he did, and that's one thing that I will praise Triple H on what he said before when he said, you know, you got to let things play out, and that completely changed my mind because we came on here and we had all of because this is even before the YouTube shit. When we started doing this, we were strictly on just like the audio podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We would make rough puns and all this other shit only on Rough, and you know, come like a few months later and it's like, oh shit, we're praising the fuck out of him because of the improvement not only that he did but that NXT did when they like got behind his fucking character. Even after he lost the North American Championship, we looked at him as somebody who was credible. So you know, that's I don't
his like little feud with Swerve.
Yeah, and I think yes, and Swerve went on social media to even praise. And I think he praised Ruff, he praised Bronson Reed,
and Atlas.
And Atlas, yeah, because he did have a feud with Atlas, yeah. So I don't understand.
Because see, the problem is that because now you're basically telling people from 2021 on, if you're not a body guy or a guy of a certain height, don't come to our company.
Yeah, that's exclusive as fuck.
You know, that's almost what you're kind of telling us.
Which is kind of hypocritical because Tyler Russ has been looking good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not sure how old he is. Maybe that might have been the factor, but
maybe he wasn't tall enough.
I thought he seemed pretty tall.
Who knows? But hell, maybe Tyler Russ could be just one of those. We just need the cap space.
Tyler Russ was 6 foot even.
Yeah, so we just need the cap space.
34.
34, really?
Too old.
Yep, that might have did it. 34. That might have did it.
Well, so you want Randy Orton's. You want young Randy Orton's is what you're telling me they want.
Yes.
But you don't want them to maybe get to the status of what young Randy Orton achieved.
Yes. Yes.
You see where they're fucking up here?
That's completely oxymoronic.
Hey, I'm gonna tell the people right now, and I'm completely just saying this. I don't know if Dizzle or Jaeger is gonna completely agree with me, but if NXT goes back to a game show, I'm not reviewing NXT anymore.
Oh no, that's over with. WWE that because look, that's its last saving grace. We may cover like the fucking pay-per-views, but if that's the case, if NXT goes back to what it was when they had fucking contestants,
that reality show,
you can X out all WWE weekly shows out the box completely.
I'll start reviewing Impact for that shit.
Oh shit! This will be a whole different channel. Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, it'll just be everything other than anything WWE related.
Not to quote somebody that's not exactly the best person to quote right now, but the Dream has no recollection of these events. Hey! It's okay. He's gone.
That was like right on cue.
Right?
Jeez.
Look, Loki's not having
it. Don't you mention that name in his house? That was like perfectly timed.
Dude, that one Rottweiler just walked right by, and that's like his worst enemy. I guess that's the Joker to his Batman or something. I don't know.
But yeah, like I don't know. Like I'm a little scared for NXT because if what they want to be true, I don't want to see a bunch of big guys, wrestling all the time, and I
know,
don't want to see that, especially if it's still going to be on TV.
you
Like,
know
I don't
what?
want to see that.
If I wanted to see a bunch of 6 foot pluses, 6 foot plus bodybuilder types wrestling in a ring, I might as well just start watching UFC on Saturdays.
Might as well.
Yeah.
There's, it's gonna get boring real quick. I'm not gonna eventually. I'm not gonna be able to tell who's who or care who's who. That's what I loved about NXT. We had such a wide variety of people and all kinds of personalities. What I love about AEW is what I love about NXT. You're you're vanatlising NXT at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my thing, and look at this, because I mean, if I'm thinking about the parallel, it seems like Vince wants to go back to the golden age era of professional wrestling, where you had your Hulk Hogan's, your Macho Man's, your Ultimate Warriors, your King Kong Bundys, your Andre the Giants.
Somebody's gonna have to get cool with steroids again if they're gonna do that, but.
Now, here's the reason I say all this, though. If you think about all those guys, the majority of these big men back in the day always had some type of a mouthpiece. Bobby Heenan, Jimmy Hart, Jim Cornette in certain cases, Ted DiBiase when he stopped wrestling. A lot of these big guys had some type of valet, manager, etc., to do the talking for them. And that's the same thing if we think about it now. Your Braun Strowman's not a good talker. Your Bobby Lashley's a good. He can probably talk, but his cadence is off. So again, still not a good talker. Drew McIntyre, he can be good, but he drolls on. Roman Reigns, he can be a good talker, but you put Paul Heyman behind him, and bam, he's good. Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman behind him. You have all these big guys who need somebody with them as a mouthpiece, whereas you have these Big E's, these Apollo Cruzes, your Finn Balor's, Dolph Ziggler's, Miz. You have all these people who are of a smaller stature who have a lot more charisma and a lot more skill and character on the fucking mic that they don't want to put the machine behind. And they wonder why a lot of people don't really look back at those days and say, you know what, I like this over this. They want variety. And this is why the Attitude Era was so well, because you had guys like Shawn Michaels, like Triple H, like the Hardy Boys, like Edge and Christian, like Gangrel. A lot of this, there were rarely any big guys. Yeah, and Too Cool.
One day we need to have a serious, in-depth analysis on the Attitude Era, because too many people keep referring to that era, and I think y'all got blinders on too when it comes to the Attitude Era, because there was a lot of bullshit.
Oh no, absolutely.
Oh, there was.
Yeah, definitely. I'm doing.
No. I ain't talking about us. I'm just saying a lot of people, including Vince and them, you will never get that back.
No.
Any era of sports in general, any era of sports, any era of TV, video games, movies, whatever form of entertainment, you won't never get something back. Wrestling can never have that impact again, because there are too many things to keep us occupied. The internet wasn't really a thing when the Attitude Era was a thing. The internet was like slowly leaking out, and it was the slowest fucking shit ever for those who know about dial-up. Internet wasn't a thing like that. Social media wasn't a thing like that. So people had no choice but to tune in to so much things. Streaming services wasn't a thing. You either had cable or you didn't have cable. That or satellite TV. That was the choices. So, and when you go from there between no cable, satellite, there was only so much things to watch.
Yeah, and that's true.
Wrestling can never go back to those numbers again because there's too many outlets.
Well, on top of that, at that time it was must see TV.
And it was must see TV.
And to be and more to your point, Scoot, when you talk about people glorifying the Attitude Era, honestly, in my personal opinion, I grew up in the Attitude Era.
Mm-hmm.
I would put the Ruthless Aggression Era over the Attitude Era.
Facts.
Just based off of just athleticism alone, because you had your John Cena's, you had your Brock Lesnar's, you had your Randy Orton's, you had your Batistas, you basically had a set standard and a bracket of who was coming up, and you had this shit sectioned up because you had your Triple H's, your Chris Jericho's, your returning Shawn Michaels. You still had The Rock at a certain point, and you had these guys who were specifically at the top, and you knew who was coming up. And at the same time, you had guys like Undertaker putting over Jeff Hardy. You had guys like The Rock putting over Brock Lesnar. You had guys like Shawn Michaels and Jericho showing everybody how it's done with Shawn Michaels Jericho WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker at WrestleMania, basically showing, okay, this is the standard. You want to be here, this is what you have to do. And you had guys coming, Kofi Kingston, CM Punk, Jeff Hardy coming up, Matt Hardy coming up, Edge coming up. You had all these guys learning from the yesteryear the right way, rather than them bringing in a whole bunch of old guys outside of like your Stone Colds at the time because he had retired, and then your Hulk Hogan's. That was pretty much the standard bearer of errors, of eras, in my opinion, because that's where the company was ran at its best, because it didn't rely on shock value. This is where the holy shit stuff started, because of the athleticism you would see within the Intercontinental Championship picture with your Shelton Benjamins, your Kofi Kingstons, your Matt Bournes, your Johnny Nitros. Evan Bourne. Yeah, there we go. See,
and Evan Bourne.
Right. Thank you for correcting me, Scoot. I don't know where maybe I'm thinking like Matt Damon, and then like
No, his name is Matt Sydal now.
I was like, you was mixing both of his names.
You know what? Fair enough. I'm gonna take that. That sounds way better.
Now
that's my excuse. But yeah,
so I'm a tag it in the whenever this video gets posted. I'm gonna redo the I can say redo, but I'm gonna add a video in the description that I think a lot of people should check out.
Okay.
Shouts out to Wrestling with Regret. He did a while back. I have to find the video.
Shout out to Brian Zane.
The top 8 worst big man. Now,
oh yeah.
Only reason why I'm mentioning this, if Vince wants to go back to the big man era, there was more bad big men than good.
Oh, yeah.
So y'all can take that with a grain of salt out there, people. There were more bad big men than good. And if he wants to try to go back to this quote unquote big man era / pre / Curtis Axel era of NXT, whoo boy, we are gonna be in for a ride.
Unless they're putting more emphasis on Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, Damian Priest, shit, even more so on Bobby Lashley at this point.
Because you wanted to say Bronson Reed.
There's a part of me that did, but you know what? That motherfucker ain't there. So, hopefully.
You know, I'm putting Bronson Reed now, since he's been released, in that same category of how they did Vader. They didn't know what the fuck to do with him.
No.
That's
but
what
we'll know what to do with them. New Japan. New Japan will know what to do with Bronson Reed.
That would be a nice pull.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even going to say AEW.
Him and Jeff Cobb would have an amazing match.
Yep. I think the big issue that's happening with WWE, unfortunately, because they did it with the women for so long, and now they did it with the women for so long, and now they kind of say they want to do it with the wrestlers. Everybody is not going to look the same. Nobody wants to see, kind of like how they said with the women, nobody wants to see, oh, that's blonde number 8 over there going against blonde number 3.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see Big Man 2 versus Big Man 7.
No.
You know, nobody wants to see that. Because I mean, look at what Strowman had to do to finally not fit the prototypical big man thing. Because unfortunately, almost is fitting that prototypical big man thing. He's not that mobile in the ring, limited move set, and I ain't saying he's big for no reason, but he's just big. I ain't trying to have colleagues running around WWE again like that.
Oh no, not at all.
So once again, like we mentioned before, things change and evolve. So here it is, you're gonna shut your doors basically to smaller guys because that's not the vision you see for your company anymore. Like what? Like there's always been small guys in wrestling. Like the fuck? For instance, take MMA for instance. MMA has divisions to compensate for the fact that everybody is not a heavyweight or a light heavyweight, middleweight, welterweight. They have flyweights and what's the other one?
Flyweight,
bantamweight, yeah.
Like they have these divisions because they know everybody's not walking around 200 pounds. Everybody's not walking around 230. Everybody's not walking around 180 something. There are some 125 motherfuckers here. There are some 130 motherfuckers here. So hey, they want to fight too. So bring them on.
But you know what? Now that you just mentioned that, it makes a lot more sense as to why they butchered 205 Live.
Yeah.
It does, but my thing is this: is like if you really want to just have like a whole bunch of big men running around just dominating everything, then make a fucking super heavyweight title, and just have that be that thing. Because if you're gonna make a cruiserweight and then have a 205 Live, then why not just have a fucking big man title that's exclusive to just the big men, where you can have guys like Keith Lee go for like the WWE Championship or Universal Championship, and then can transition and go for the super heavyweight. Like, it's as simple as that. Let Vince have his fucking, fever dream and have the super heavyweights run roughshod in WWE, and he can just watch that shit and leave everything else to like Triple H and Paul Heyman. Perfectly fine. And you can have your Bruce Pritchards and your Kevin Dunns and your John Laurinaitis and have them all cover the super heavyweight, and they can just leave that shit where it is.
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. With most likely Adam Cole leaving, potentially Pete Dunne leaving, I don't know what's next for NXT, and it kind of has me worried because if Vince, Pritchard, and Laurinaitis themselves made these cuts, this is scary to me. They're superseding Hunter. They're superseding Hunter.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we know you run this, but at the end of the day, I own this. So if you're superseding the man you trusted in this because you feel not enough of the prototypical guys you want are coming up, then I don't know. Everybody ain't gonna be Warlords in this bitch.
Nope.
I wonder how much notice Hunter had to try and bring up these bigger guys. Because, I mean, you got Karrion Kross, you got Damian Priest that are coming up. Like, you had Keith Lee as well. I wonder how much time or how much notice was given to do this.
Well, from what watching Keith Lee's documentary,
his documentary.
Was it Keith Lee's documentary?
It
was something.
That shit.
It was. I think it was Keith Lee's 24.
It was okay. Yeah, 24. Okay.
Yeah, watching his 24, he was notified he was going to be on the main roster, I think, the night he lost to Karrion Kross. I think.
Huh.
He was told that he was going to be going to Raw the next week or whatever, next week or 2 weeks after that. So
he was going right after.
So he was notified almost right after. The thing is that it's a weird thing that here it is, you have a playground. You have whoever you want to bring up in this playground. If you feel your roster is getting too stale on Raw and SmackDown, you have all of these people that you could just take, and then it's like, you know what? That's not good enough. We got to do something else. Oh, they may be popular there, but they're not popular here. We got to do something else. Oh, your main guy that y'all love so much is 5'9"? Oh, no, we got to do something else. Oh, wait, the guy y'all love so much is 38? Oh, no, we got to do something else. Wait, he weighs how much? Oh, no, we got to do something else.
Saying all of that makes me think that it was maybe more intentional that they forgot about Adam Cole.
Because so from what I also heard with Cole, apparently Vince met with Cole on SmackDown, and I'm assuming that must be the Hail Mary.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that must be the Hail Mary. That must be 3 seconds left. I'm gonna heave this football, or I'm gonna heave this ball from half court. That's what that sounds like to me. That Vince
I really hope he doesn't sign with or stay signed with WWE.
Point, this, I don't disagree.
Like, he's just going to be next on the chopping block within the 3 or 4 year extension that he signs.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I look at it. It's basically okay. Well, we know that he can move the needle at certain points, so let's just lock him into a contract. Promise him these things. Give it to him the first 2 months when we got him locked in, and then bury him to keep him under contract and bury him that whole time. So that way we can do what we can to make sure that the other side doesn't move the needle in their favor
whenever they do take him.
Exactly.
I really hope he has the foresight to see what's going on. Damn, was that conversation before this releasing?
Yes, I think.
The conversation was Friday. The releases happened. I think those releases happened Friday too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully he found out about the releases.
No. These releases happened before then.
Yeesh.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Well, then no, that's
good. These happened on Thursday.
Good. Well, I mean, not good, but that's good for him to know that going into that conversation. So, because that way he can at least have more to negotiate with if he's going to stay, or B, he can make his decision easier and leave. I was just listening to Talking Shop. Shout out to Talking Shop and the boys, but that's Carl Anderson, Doug Gallows, and all them. But Carl Anderson himself said that he really hopes Adam Cole does not re-sign because of the way WWE is run. And I think this recording was before. No, yeah, I'm sure this recording was before these releases. And and the news you just gave us.
Well, I mean, Cornette has said it best too. Cornette has said it best, talking about here it is. Gallows and Anderson, you were willing to pay us almost $1 million to stay, but then you fuck us a year later. Fuck y'all. So, like, we could have been off doing something else, but you paid us all this money to stay, but then within a year, all right, y'all can go. Excuse me?
Man, y'all better have gave them their checks.
Yeah. And this is why Balor needs to leave too. Balor needs to go back to New Japan.
Yes. Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Because AJ at this point, AJ's the only one at his stature that's pretty much grandfathered in. Like he's pretty much untouchable at
Yeah.
this point. He's
Got the
perfectly
build
fine.
for damn sure.
Yeah,
Which
But
I don't know
height.
what his routine is, but damn.
It's the height. I think AJ is 6 foot, if that.
I think AJ and Angle might be the same height because I think Angle might be okay. So yeah, he's right. He right under there because AJ's 5'11".
Yeah, but I say it's the height. But once again, AJ has proved that he's that dude for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like I said, I don't necessarily say that everything has to go back to this big man, little man era.
Like you said, it's going to be Big Man 1 or Big Man 2 versus Big Man 7. We don't need that at all.
At all. I really do not want that era. And then you basically heard it from us. If NXT changes that drastically, guess what? We won't talk about it anymore. But
hey, I don't mind talking about Impact. They're making moves. They're making good moves.
They are,
right?
Yeah, with this forbidden door being open now, it's like it's more beneficial to talk about everything within that spectrum rather than WWE because it's more interesting on this side rather than the bullshit happening under the WWE umbrella. Because NXT never used to be part of that conversation. We always separated them from the main roster. So
yeah,
that leads me to believe if they're changing regular NXT, are they also changing NXT UK? Because
I'm pretty sure
that feels super indie to me all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically gonna suck the lifeblood out of NXT and NXT UK.
And apparently you're going to keep going over Hunter's head too.
Yeah, and here's the thing I hate about that is because we're never gonna hear what Triple H truly thinks. Because again, he's married into the family and he has to be professional and a businessman about it. So we're never going to get his off the cuff true, he's always going to give a political response to every question.
We're never, if we do ever hear it, it'll be
after Vince passes.
Either after Vince passes or until he himself retires from the company.
Or that, yeah. Because that's just. Whew.
I would say, hell, I mean, at this point, we've already said what we needed to say enough. So,
true.
Like how Dizzle do it, I'm gonna do it on the opposite end. Jaeger, you got any final thoughts on all of this drama?
I fear for NXT if they want to do this big man shit, and I mean, hey, young talent's cool. But if you want them all to be 6 foot plus, like cut to hell and all that, then it'll be a slippery slope, or it'll be like sketchy. Like you're gonna definitely have to make sure you're getting these 6 foot plus cut up dudes that have some personality to them.
Yeah.
Or like you can't have them all look like Karrion Kross, like
Everybody can't be Big E.
Exactly. No. Exactly. So
everybody can't be top dollar.
Right. But I mean, like you said, if they either get the right mouthpieces behind them, that can be something. Maybe not Malcolm Bivens to be those right mouthpieces behind him.
But like even to spin off of that, even then, I ain't trying to see 10, 15 dudes paired with a manager either.
Yeah,
exactly.
So even then,
can you imagine like 3 to 4 big dudes like all behind one like shrimp manager or something like that?
Yeah. Right.
It's a possibility it could happen.
Apparently, WWE wants that. You're gonna hear from the fans eventually.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Diesel, What's your
Um,
final thoughts on all of this chaos?
the only way we could make this change, and I'm talking about the IWC and professional wrestling fans as a whole, is to hit them where it hurts, hit those pockets, because once
Absolutely.
once it hits the ratings and AEW starts beating them in the ratings, that's when all of these companies, the sponsors,
Oh, hold on,
the
hold on. Speaking of, AEW's been averaging $1 million.
yep.
Yeah.
So
To be
that's
fair, though, I won't hype that up until they stop doing special after special every week.
True.
I
But
mean,
with the
go ahead.
coming change, but I was saying with the coming changes that were low key really with the squeak toy, but with the coming changes, I mean, I don't see them dropping that million either. I mean, with
Yeah.
CM Punk, possibly Adam Cole, and Bryan Danielson on the horizon, I think we're gonna stay in that million bracket for a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, but um, with AEW, they're trying to keep it fresh. So I understand
Yeah.
all the all the special shows, especially since they only have about 4 pay-per-views a year,
Yeah.
which WWE used to do all the time. And they're pretty much taking a page out of WCW's book, because WCW used to do the same thing where they had, Clash of the Champions and there were like two other things that they did like throughout weekly TV shows for special events
Mm.
that I would be interested in. So I don't mind that, but I get what you're saying, because it can get monotonous if they continue to rely so much on it and try to make every single show special. Um, but as long as they're doing what they're doing and keeping the fans in mind and understanding that they're trying to appeal to the audience rather than appeal
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
a single man show, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll leave this to the fans. Like, you guys know what to do. If you keep watching it, WWE is going to think that there's nothing wrong, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing as if there's no change. So vote with your viewership. That's what I'll leave my final thought on.
Yes. And I will say personally to those who were released Friday, hopefully I'll bounce back.
Yes.
If it gets
Oh,
you
yeah.
down, recover, find something different, find something better, come back stronger, and ultimately make WWE regret it.
Ooh, Mercedes Martinez
Regret it.
versus Camille.
Make them regret it.
Oof.
Yeah, right, right.
Just make WWE regret their decisions. Yeah, I
Cole
mean,
don't sign, Balor don't re-sign, Pete Dunne don't re-sign, Bronson go to New Japan.
yeah, just make them regret it.
Yep, on all
Make them
counts.
regret it.
So,
But I mean, this has been crazy. That
yes.
that if all is true, WWE is getting very, I don't know, it's
Stagnant's the word for it.
it's getting spooky over there. It's getting spooky.
And it ain't Halloween Havoc.
Yeah. And it ain't spooky in a good way, like Swerve was saying.
Yeah.
It's getting spooky in a how much more can I watch this type of way.
Yeah.
Because I do mean it. If NXT turns into that game show type shit again,
Yeah,
I ain't watching
that's
that
it.
shit no more.
It's done. There's no point at that.
Yeah.
So
Even if they start doing segments, it might start getting sketchy with me watching it.
it might.
So
It might.
y'all might get one review from us, and that might be the first episode of that, and that'd be it. It'd be one and done.
We'll review that last one. That'll be the last time we talk about NXT until there's an amazingly drastic change. So, but that's our thoughts and opinions. Y'all know we don't try to hit it right when it drops. We want to get all the information out and try to make sure that we understand exactly what's going on, because it's not about being first. It's about giving the correct information, and that's why we always wait.
Yes.
So, with that said, I give it 2 sweet to my bros. Y'all know where to find us. If you have any opinions, you can comment down below, like that shit, whether you're thumbs up, thumbs down, love it, hate it, rate that shit, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get all these good updates. But as always, until next time, you beautiful mother effers, tag the fuck it out.